Hi guys, welcome to the Classes Corner. I'm Kat, and this week I'm going to be talking about Diana of Themyscira, or Wonder Woman. I haven't had the chance to see the new film yet. I'm really looking forward to it, and I will do a video on it as soon as I can. But first I wanted to do a quick video on the history of her character and the classical aspects of her character. Now, a key feature of Wonder Woman is that she is an Amazon, the daughter of the Queen of the Amazons, Hippolyta, and that she gets her powers, at least in my favoured continuity, from the Greek gods. Like, she gets her strength and her flight and her items of power like her lasso of truth and her wristbands because she is a virtuous person, so the gods gifted them to her. And that she leaves the paradise-like women-only island of Themyscira to be an ambassador to the world of men. She actually interacts with lots of mythical figures in her comics. Characters like Ares and Hades, Phobos and Circe are all recurring villains in her comics. And even in some versions of the character, so not just the comics, say in some cartoons of her, she is actually is portrayed as having lived at the time of classical Greece, so she actually makes a few references to it. But from her portrayal in the comics, a absolutely vital part of her character is her compassion. Wonder Woman is loyal and compassionate. She is a diplomat and an ambassador, and her first option will always be peace. She fight. She is absolutely one of the DC's heaviest hitters. She is fierce and strong as a warrior, but she will always extend the hand of friendship before showing any aggression. She will always go for the peaceful option first. At least that's the portrayal of her mainly. And that portrayal as this compassionate, peaceful person is actually at odds with the ancient portrayals of Amazons. Now, Amazons are a really interesting concept to look at from the perspective of when you study ancient Greek literature. The Greeks liked to make themselves the centre of civilization, that they were the norm and anything outside of that was weird or barbaric and just not right. So in a way to make themselves seem like the massively normal, fantastic basis of civilization, they would portray people from other places, so islands outside of the Greek sphere or barbaric places elsewhere, as weird. Like if you went to them, you were going into sort of a topsy-turvy land where everything was opposite day. And the Amazons are actually an example of that. In the extremely patriarchal Greek society, a society of independent warrior women was just like, you know, completely not right, completely opposite to how good standing Greek society should work, where women were at home and seen and not heard and had a male guardian and were absolutely nowhere near a fight. And to really drive this home, the Amazons were a warlike people. They craved war, they craved blood, they craved fighting, and in some texts, such as Apollonius of Rhodes, they were actually descendants from Ares, which again was a villain of Wonder Woman's, so things change in her portrayal there. Yeah, even in some texts, they are even shown to be fighting in the Trojan War, so one of the biggest conflicts of the ancient literary canon. They fought on the side of the Trojans. They can be seen like this. They are portrayed as these violent people in Apollonius of Rhodes, in Herodotus, in Aeschylus, in Diodorus, and it's a very, very violent image of these women. So Wonder Woman isn't like that. And the portrayal of her classicsness, so why she is an Amazon, despite not having the Amazon violence, is probably because of her creator, William Moulton Marston. And he was an absolutely fascinating man. Like, seriously, Google him or read something like this, which is this book by Jill Lepore. I can't pronounce that properly. which goes into his history, and he was fascinating. He was a very early feminist, especially male feminist. He fought in World War I. He actually invented the lie detector. He was in a polyamorous relationship. He was just a really fascinating guy. And when the comic book industry was growing, he wanted to make a character, a hero, who was ruled by compassion, was ruled by love, rather than fists or firepower. He wanted to make someone compassionate. And his wife, Elizabeth, who was also really fascinating, seriously, Google her, also Google their girlfriend, Olive, they were great, told him to make his hero a woman. And because he was fascinated, again, like many of us, by classics, and he was also curious to see what a world would be like if it were ruled by women, he made Wonder Woman, he made Diana an Amazon. So the classics came after the character. The key aspects of the character, her compassion, her love was created first, and then he fit his interpretation of the classics around that, which is really interesting to me. Actually, the creation of Wonder Woman is fantastic. Like, this doesn't have anything to do with classics, but has a lot to do with the creation of this contemporary to the time, I think the early 1920s character, in that yes, he was a massive feminist. William Moulton Marsden was he was absolutely fascinated by feminism. That sort of early feminism. He attended lectures and demonstrations by Emmeline Pankhurst when he was in Harvard. And one of the often views of Wonder Woman, at least in her early creation, was her weakness. You know, comic book characters have a weakness. You know, Superman has kryptonite, Batman has, I don't know, taxes. But Wonder Woman's weakness was that if she were bound by a man, like her wrists, she would lose her powers, and a lot of people have interpreted that as this early sort of sexist thing, that this sort of imagery is kind of massive just weakness for her, that it's sort of counterintuitive to making Wonder Woman this strong character. But why he actually did that, and this is from this book, I got it read in this book, mainly because I was actually planning to do my master's dissertation on portrayals of Amazons. I didn't end up doing that, but when I was doing early research I read this, that why he made Wonder Woman's weakness her hands being bound, and that's why she lost her powers, because when he went to these feminist demonstrations, when he heard Emmeline Pankhurst talk, after these demonstrations, lots of these early feminists, these suffragettes, were arrested, and he couldn't get the image of these powerful orators, these very powerful women being bound like this when they were arrested. So he saw that as this ultimate sign of their strength, that they knew that they were going to get arrested, that they knew they would always be fighting no matter how many times they were shackled, but that patriarchy could just bind these women somehow. And that's why he made her weakness, Wonder Woman's weakness, her hands being bound like that, because he was inspired by Emmeline Pankhurst. So this sort of somehow sexist imagery was actually a powerful feminist statement for the time, for the 1920s. Doesn't really have anything to do with classics, but I find it amazing. So thanks for listening to me, guys. I upload videos like this every Sunday where I look at the ancient world. Drop my book. Anyway, where I look at the ancient world through modern eyes. And if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.